Well, we got breaking news out of the NFL where the Atlanta Falcons are nearing a deal to make Raheem Morris their next head coach. That's the latest from our Jonathan Jones. Morris has been in LA for the past 3 seasons, serving as the Rams defensive coordinator. It'll be Morris's second stint in LA, where he previously served as an assistant head coach and defensive coordinator. He was also the Falcons interim coach in 2020 after Dan Quinn was fired, going 4-7 to finish the season. Morris will take over for Arthur Smith, who was let go after 3 years in Atlanta. Jonathan Jones joining us now with the latest, and the news just keeps on breaking, and now we're hearing that the Atlanta Falcons have a new head coach, and it is not Bill Belichick, but Raheem Morris. How did this come about, JJ?
Yeah, Jenny, we're certainly going to get into Bill Belichick. A lot of reporting on that, but let's talk about Raheem Morris. And I can report that a deal is close, according to a source. And like to sort of break the wall down on this, when we say that the deal's close, the deal's going to happen. Pen to paper hasn't taken place yet. He's going to be the next head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And so it's going to be a full circle moment, a homecoming of sorts. I reported just a little bit ago that on Tuesday night, Raheem Morris met with Arthur Blank at Blank's home, along with the Falcons executive group. That would have consisted of Rich McKay, the team CEO. That would have consisted of team president Greg Beadles, also the general manager Terry Fontenot. And that he impressed them all with his energy, with his composure, with his vision. I was told by a source that was not in the room that he killed the interview from folks who were in the room. Obviously, that has been proven true by evidence of the fact that he's about to be their next head coach. He is the first black head coach in Atlanta Falcons history. He is the first head coach that Arthur Blank has hired who has previous NFL head coaching experience. He had always gone after guys who were coordinators or who had not been NFL head coaches. Bobby Petrino, of course, had been a head coach, and that did not work out too well for Arthur Blank. And so he gets someone in Morris who has learned a great deal over the past decade since his last stint with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where he had a 10-win season in his second year that, and talking with sources, was probably a little bit more smoke and mirrors than the next year was the lockout. The Bucs didn't spend any money. It was a mess at quarterback. It didn't work out. He got fired. And for the last more than decade, he's been trying to work his way back. When he was the interim head coach, Jenny, you noted that he went 4-7, but that was a team that was 0-5 with Dan Quinn up to that point. He actually brought some life back to the defense, and so being with the Rams, winning that Super Bowl with them, he has earned this opportunity. Raheem Morris, the next head coach of the Falcons.
So clearly he impressed to get this job. For people who are unfamiliar with him, what's his coaching style? What is he bringing to the Falcons?
Yeah, look, his players absolutely love him. You want to talk about a player's coach, that is what you're going to get with Ra, or you may hear Coach Ra from folks. I know Jalen Ramsey just took to X or Twitter, whatever we're calling it these days, and said that the Falcons got the best in the business. The Rams absolutely love him. We heard from Les Snead, the general manager of the Rams, who was essentially telling teams, please take Raheem. We love him as a defensive coordinator. Please take him to be your next head coach. He deserves it. Kevin Demoff, sort of the guy who runs the Rams, understand Kroenke, he's been saying and echoing the same thing out in public. Sean McVay doing the same as well. It does not help the Rams to lose Raheem Morris as a defensive coordinator. Sure, they're going to get some compensatory picks, but they'd rather have a quality coordinator than 2 third-round picks in the next 2 drafts. But instead, they're saying these things, one, because it's the right thing to say, because they are a class organization, but 2, because they want the best for Raheem. And now he goes to a place with familiarity. He knows Rich McKay. He's going to start to get to know Terry Fontenot, the general manager there. He knows Arthur Blank, and he's going to be able to chart the course for the future of these Atlanta Falcons. They have to find a quarterback. It's not going to be Desmond Ridder. It's not going to be Taylor Heineke, but they're going to have the resources via the draft or free agency to find that quarterback. And then he also has to find an offensive coordinator. He's a defensive guy. Look for Zach Jack Robinson, the current pass game coordinator and quarterbacks coach of the Rams, to potentially be the next offensive coordinator for Raheem Morris in Atlanta. That coordinator is almost certainly going to come from the McVay-Shanahan tree. I would think that he would be one of the top candidates, and it's going to have to happen quick, Jenny, because there's going to be massive turnover, already is around the NFL at offensive coordinator. At least half the teams are going to have new OCs this upcoming year. So he's going to have to move quickly to fill out his staff in Atlanta.
And you look at the landscape right now as far as coaches go, and you know this is going to be my next question. So we have the Seahawks and the Commanders. Now, you recently just posted Washington has no interest in pursuing Bill Belichick and appears focused on Ben Johnson. Seattle hasn't requested to interview Belichick. That would be a kind of strange move going from Pete Carroll to Belichick there. So, JJ, what happens to Bill Belichick?
Kind of crazy, right? We're talking about arguably the GOAT, in my opinion, is the GOAT of football coaches. And here he is without a dance partner. Look, it had sort of been Falcons or bust for him, and he made his pitch known to Arthur Blank. And frankly, why it did not work in Atlanta, it could have something to do with Raheem Morris winning that job, and I want to give due respect to that. But let's also talk about Belichick and why he is not the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Arthur Blank was very interested in Bill Belichick, but not really anyone else in the building was. There was going to be a great amount of upheaval. As someone told me just moments ago, there was going to be a ground shake in Atlanta if Belichick came in. There was going to be firings. There was going to be reassignments. He was going to bring in his own people. There was going to be a new program and a new way there in Atlanta, not just on football, but across the entire organization. And so Arthur Blank had to determine if that's what he wanted for his franchise, if he wanted to reassign or diminish Rich McKay, the team CEO. Obviously, he did not choose that. But Bill Belichick, he wasn't necessarily going to bend on what he wanted out of his next stop. So where does he end up? As I reported, Washington has not been interested in Bill Belichick. Their sights have been set on Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. And the Seahawks, look, they tried to schedule Raheem Morris for another interview. He was supposed to be in Seattle tomorrow. Obviously, that's not going to take place. Could it be Dan Quinn, who's been the leading candidate all along? Very well could be. They've also interviewed Mike Kafka and Patrick Graham. But as far as Bill Belichick, it is very, very possible right now that Bill Belichick is not coaching anywhere in 2024. Takes the year off, does media, sees if he's any good at it, and then maybe hopes to get back in 2025 if things stay the way that they are. And really, I don't have any indication, Jenny, that things are going to change.
I'm sure we could find a spot for him here at CBS. Just throwing it out there. I don't know. Jonathan Jones, thank you so much. You always are on top of all of this breaking news, as we just found out that the Atlanta Falcons are nearing a deal to make Raheem Morris their next head coach. I'm sure there's going to be an emergency Pick Six pod out there with all of this breaking news going on. You can scan that QR code or check it out on your favorite pod.